Latino white supremacists exist, and they come in all colors. Unfortunately, these people are your neighbors, members of your church, co-workers, friends, and even family members. Abraham Gangwatch was a Jewish Nazi collaborator who led a group called Group 13 in the Warsaw Ghetto of Poland during the Holocaust. Their goals included hunting other Jews for the Nazis and infiltrating underground Jewish safety networks in exchange for money, protection from the Gestapo, and status within the German military. In other words, they were cowards that felt that by assimilating, they would get fairer treatment than their Jewish brothers and sisters. In that same vein, Latinos who still support Trump are active enablers of white supremacy as well, attempting to assimilate in pursuit of being seen as an equal by their oppressors. Trump's win over Kamala Harris was not by a landslide. It was won by a mere 1% or so. And although Latinos still mostly voted against Trump, that split was almost half. There's a really good book by Paola Ramos called Defectors that digs deep into research through interviews, studies, and finding the root of a lot of misinformation that was fed to Latino voters. But among issues that divide Latinos, like colorism, internal racism, there's also tribalism. The idea that associating yourself with a group by voting a certain way or living in a certain area or assimilating somehow makes you feel separated from undesirable groups of lesser economic status or class. It's the us versus them mentality that MAGA has propelled its success from, and Latinos for Trump are huge culprits of it. The truth is that white supremacy doesn't win without their help. When you log on to the DHS site, you immediately see a group of 4 ICE agents as advertisement for their recruitment. At least 2 of those images are of non-white officers. This is significant because just like the Nazis needed Abraham Gangwatch and Group 13 to surveil, infiltrate, and criminalize their own, so does ICE. What's crazy is that by 1943, most of the members of Group 13 were either unalived or deported to camps by the Nazis anyway. So all of that assimilating they were trying to do didn't work in their favor after all. And Latinos for Trump, no matter how hard you try to scrub your skin or use your light features to pass as something that you're not, the pitfalls of your compliance with white supremacy will catch up to you and your loved ones very soon. You just better hope that the rest of us collectively have enough sense to put an end to the chaos before it does. Rest in peace to Renee Nicole Good and all of the other lives lost at the hands of ICE. But I want to know your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to follow me on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube at FromTheRecord_.
Hello guys, welcome once again to the channel. I hope whenever you're watching, you're having a great time. Now, we have seen one thing happening within the Latino community, and there is a sense in which Latinos tend to like being associated with whites as opposed to being associated with black people. And many of them have talked about this in very many platforms where they are talking about how racism projects itself within their communities. In fact, if they're Latinos who appear to be darker skinned, then you'll realize that they are being discriminated against, and some of them get racial slurs targeting them. It is really sad that people who are not white, for that matter, tend to associate themselves with whites and want to be white more than even white people. But one reality is here, and most Latinos who have spoken about this have said it openly, that no matter how hard you try, you cannot be a white person. No matter how much you try to belong within the white community, they are not ready to welcome you in, because history is awash with examples where some people projected themselves as closer to whites, but at the end of the day, you realize that they did not really get what they deserved. And that is something that I think we have to come to terms with. There is no sense for Latinos to come out, start disrespecting blacks or even their darker skinned Latino people in the guise of pretending to be associating yourself with this group of people that society has created and given higher pedestal in the society. We know that it is in human nature to always associate yourself with the best. But then when this best is not something that is innate, it is created, it is a social construct that has been created by humans, then associating with it does not really give you any value, because you don't really show your greatness by trying to associate with people who are known to disrespect others. This is what we want to discuss in today's video, and I came across a clip of Latinos speaking about their people and trying to advise them to really be a people who are sober, to be a people who can look Donald Trump and understand his policies. Because if you look at even the ICE agents, you have seen that what Trump did and his administration is that they are picking Latino cops to go and register as ICE agents. They are picking black people to go and register and become the ones who are being used to deport others. So it is a ploy that is being used to hoodwink the general public that this is a good thing, because even some of us are in that group. But what Latinos in America are telling their counterparts who are supporting Trump is that you are supporting Trump, but you are also an accomplice to the incompetence that this government is seeing, to the incompetence that is being shown everywhere under this administration. So let's watch some of the videos that I've compiled. I shall come back in the end with my commentaries.
On this week's episode of You Have the Audacity to, Latinos asking Black people why they aren't present to help fight against the deportations like Latinos were for the BLM movement. What? The audacity to ask such a question is absolutely insane. First of all, Black people, other Latinos begged you not to vote for this Cheeto. Begged you to vote for your own causes. And yet and still, you voted for him. Now here we are, facing mass deportations, and you have the nerve to question Black people? Not your fellow Latinos who casted the vote, not white people, but Black people. Black people who overwhelmingly went to the polls to support the candidate that they wanted, who didn't say she was going to deport Latinos. Do you see the hypocrisy? Also, not to mention, Latinos weren't overwhelmingly involved in the BLM movement. I'm sorry. Well, not that I've seen. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But as far as I've seen in my area, no.
Latinos for Trump, I need you to get your DNA test so that you can find out just how Black you are. Because if you don't know how Black you are, trust me, the white supremacists of this nation specifically, they know the history that you don't know about yourself or that you don't want to admit or embrace about yourself. And as long as the white supremacists of this nation know that you hate your Blackness, they are going to continue to use that against you to divide you from all of the other Afro descendants that you should be connected to. Because whether you like it or not, you have a shared history. You do not come from a racial utopia, and no matter how much you don't want to talk about race or say that race doesn't exist, which we all know is a biblical principle. Nobody's arguing that, but the fact of the matter is race is connected to systems of oppression that are very much real and very much weaponized against people. This is the history that you cannot get away from. More than 10 million people were sent to Latin America and the Caribbean between 1525 and 1866. The numbers for Latin America dwarfed those for the United States. Estimated 388,000 to 450,000 enslaved Africans were brought directly to the territory that would become the U.S. This number represents a small fraction of the total 10.7 million Africans who survived the transatlantic slave trade. There is this remarkable documentary called Afro-Latinos that was done about 15 years ago by two amazing historians who actually were able to pinpoint that the total number of enslaved Africans that were brought to the Americas equaled close to 12.5 million in total. So out of that number, we're being given this 10.7 million Africans who survived. But look at the significantly smaller amount of enslaved Africans that were sent to the United States compared to the Caribbean, compared to all of Latin America. That is a huge, huge number. So no matter what percentage of African ancestry you may have, the fact is that you have it, and that makes you a part of the African story. That means you have a shared history with Afro descendants all over the world. If you come from a colonized nation, you need to understand that without your Blackness, you would not be who you are. And it does not matter how many European colonizers you have in your lineage that you insist on glorifying and including into the person that you are. The fact of the matter is you are a part of the African story. And as long as you continue to glorify your colonizers, white supremacists will always make a fool of you. White supremacists will always use you to advance their agenda, which in the end does not benefit you at all, even if you may think that it does. Listen, I am an Afro-Dominican. I am a black person in the diaspora, descended from the Cibao region in Dominican Republic, which is believed to have the highest concentration of white ancestry in the Dominican Republic. Yet here I stand with 54% West African ancestry. I have 8% indigenous ancestry, and I have 38% European ancestry. And according to the research that I've done of family members that I've been able to find, I have generations of family from the Cibao region in Dominican Republic. For anyone who wants to argue, well, maybe your family came from another region of blacker people and that's why you're getting those numbers. No, people need to understand the history of where you come from. And for people to even try to argue about the impact of the African presence in Latin America, people who want to argue specifically about my own history, you are not aware of just how deep the African presence was, even in areas where you thought that it wasn't even that prominent, because people get stuck on phenotypical presentation. But when you start to learn about how genetics work, you learn that some genes are suppressed and that your genetic composition is not always going to express itself phenotypically. I know someone else that I came across right here on TikTok that has the same percentage of African DNA that I have, 54%. And this person presents phenotypically different than I do. That person is going to be more accepted as a visibly black person than I have been amongst Latin Americans. Not amongst black Americans that understand that someone like me is a visibly black person, but through the lens of someone from Latin America, specifically in Dominican Republic, where I'm categorized as a white person. Of course not. Understand, black and brown people, we come from a powerful shared history. We are a part of the African story. And if you have indigenous ancestry in you that has survived, understand you come from survivors. That ancestry is still within you. Generations after, we know for a fact that so many genocides were carried out all across Latin America. Right? And Dominican Republic, out of, Puerto Rico, Cuba, and DR, has the lowest concentration of indigenous ancestry. So even for me in 2025, to still find that number is pretty impressive. But people have to stop glorifying their colonizers. Stop glorifying your colonizers because they're not doing anything for you. And the white supremacists of this world, they see you even if you do not want to see yourself.
Do you want to talk about upholding white supremacy and how Latinos play a role into it? Because if you do, you've come to the right place. Because one of the biggest disappointments that came out from the election and Kamala Harris losing the election is me discovering how many Latinos not only voted for that man, but actively voted against our community and actively spoke ill will of immigrants when so many of them are descendants of immigrants themselves. Let's talk about that. And how so much of this is tied to the need to feel close to whiteness, the proximity to whiteness. Think about that, okay? And I want to play this video so that you can put things into context, because this video of a dad talking to his son in Spanish about his immigration story. It's in Spanish, I'll translate it afterwards, at least the main points, and then we'll do a little analysis because we need to talk about this because this did play a role. This did contribute to a black and Asian woman not being elected to the highest office in the land, okay? It did, it's connected. So let me play the video.
Esa gente, también así me vine. Y porque así me vine, naciste tú aquí, por eso no tienes el mismo pensamiento que nosotros. Esas personas no tienen ninguna oportunidad en nuestras tierras, por eso es que migran.
And the clip is longer, but I'll summarize what the dad said. The dad is telling the son that people will immigrate to this country because of lack of opportunity or issues that they're encountering in their own country. And I know a lot of people out there are like, oh, well, that's their problem. But can you imagine, and this is where the lack of empathy plays a role, can you imagine if you had no opportunities in your country, or if you were in a war-torn country, or if you fell into a dictatorship? Can you imagine feeling like the only option you have is to immigrate to another country and for that country to be like, nah, or for the people of that country to be like, don't care about you. No. And to do that to your own people, The dad is telling him that the son gets the benefit from being a citizen because the dad immigrated. Because he immigrated. The why behind the story is also important. Okay, but let's talk about how this impacted the election because I think that's really important. There is a socialization of our people, the Latino community, when we are growing up, that we are told to aspire to what the Americano, what the American does. And Americano is synonymous of white. It's not just any American, it's what the white person does, because it is observed that white people are treated differently. That is a thing. And within the Latino community, there's also anti-blackness, there's colorism, there's machismo, and all of those things. There's internalized racism, this need to be close to white people that exists, and it absolutely contributed to a Black and Asian woman not being elected to office. That absolutely contributed, and I will stand on that. And if you understand this, comment. Let me know, because I cannot be the only one that believes this. Follow for more, because we're going to be talking about this.
Honestly, I'm so glad that you're asking this, because I've been wanting to talk about this for a very long time, and I'll probably make a more detailed video in the future, but I would be lying. I think a lot of us Latinos would be lying if we said that there wasn't anti-Blackness in our communities, because there is. There is this deeply rooted anti-Blackness that I think has gotten better in recent years, but it certainly exists. And as someone whose brother-in-law is Black, whose nephews are Mexican-American Black, I can't tell you how angry and frustrated I am, and honestly just disappointed by the atrocities that I keep seeing today when it comes to anti-Blackness in Latino communities. And I can speak to specifically in Mexican communities. And just really quickly before I go to answer your question, what I find really sad is that when you look at history, the Latino community and the Black community have always helped each other out. You look at the abolition of slavery in Mexico, which happened only 8 years after Mexico gained its independence from Spain. And they were bringing slaves from the US through Texas into Mexico to grant them freedom. And this was particularly done because of President Vicente Guerrero, I believe. He was Afro-Latino, which, by the way, was one of the earlier presidents in Mexico. So how can we even forget that an Afro-Latino man was one of the earlier presidents of Mexico? You look at the Chicano movements of the 1960s and the 1970s. You had Black Panthers and Chicano activists coming together to fight for universal justice for their communities. You look at something as early as the Black Lives Matter movement, which I was in Arizona for. And let me tell you, I went marching and it was packed. And about 85 to 90%, I can confidently say, were Latinos. And they were hand in hand with their Black sisters and brothers. I tell you, it was beautiful. I mean, I'm getting literally chills. It just reminded me in that moment how we've been robbed, how our communities have been robbed from togetherness because we've been othered, not only by ourselves, but mainly by white supremacists. The devil works hard, but the white man works harder. And I say that because I think historically we've seen an implementation of divisive tactics rooted in fear against Latinos and the Black community to create a division. To answer this question, it's very multifaceted and it's very complex. Things like assimilation pressures that a lot of Latinos fall into, white supremacy, which Latinos can be a part of as well, don't lie, structural racism, I think they all play a part. But one of the things that I feel has really been the rooted problem in all of this is colonialism. I don't think a lot of people realize the effects of colonialism far after it ends. And I think Mexico is a prime example because when the Spanish colonized modern day Mexico in the 1500s and were there for 300 plus years, they created a caste system that literally judged people based on skin color. And that caste system didn't end when Mexico gained its independence. It didn't just go away. It then filtered through society, and it is very alive and well today. I mean, kind of a side note, but when you look at media representation in Mexico, it's very rarely people that look like me. It's people who are more Aryan looking, who are more white passing, that essentially get those leading roles that are in big TV shows. So that breathes within Mexico, and it certainly breathes within its people. It is brought over by US Latinos here who believe in that caste, who inadvertently judge from a place of colorism, and whether subconscious or not, this is ingrained in their worldview. So of course, it's something that they don't even think of unless you put yourself out of it, which is what a lot of us have done, right? You decenter yourself and take a step back and become aware of what is happening, of the colorism, of the long-term ramifications of this caste system, then you allow space and opportunity to break away from that structural racism that we all inherently are a part of. And it's happening, even though it's slow, it is happening. People are changing. I've seen it with my own family. I've seen it in other communities where we are decentering colorism and anti-Blackness from the foundation of how we look at the world because of our colonial past. So listen, I know that's not probably the best answer you want, but I do think that it is changing. And I do think that this is where it's more important than ever for us to come together and realize this so that we can be a unit, that we can help each other out instead of being more divided, because that's exactly why we're here today. Will there always be Latinos who are anti-Black? Absolutely. And unfortunately, they are always the loudest. They are the ones who are getting on interviews, on TV, and then it creates and pushes that narrative that we're talking about, that Latinos are all anti-Black. But I can assure you that there are a lot of us out there who are not. I can confidently tell you that. And it is a slow growth, but it is a growth.
Am I surprised that a lot of Latino men voted for Trump? No. What else do we expect from a culture that is full of abusers, even within our own families? This has always been a very hard conversation for our community to have. And I'm not saying that the Latino community is the only community that is doing this, because there are many. The fact that a lot of us have tios, primos, abuelitos who are PDF files in our families, and we don't say anything about it. We all know an abuser in our extended family who has essayed someone, a child most of the time. We always sweep it under the rug. We do not want to cause problems. We don't want the family to break apart. What are we going to do at the next carne asada if we confront the primo or the uncle? Loyalty and compassion is almost always given to the abuser and never the victim. I personally know of families today that have gone through something like this that still have not confronted their abuser, that still go to a family function, a carne asada, whatever, and that abuser is most likely there. So am I surprised that Latino men, despite the charges that Trump had against minors, still voted for him? No. I'm not. Am I disgusted? Yes. Surprised? Unfortunately not. And by no means am I generalizing that all Latino men are this way, because they're not. But we all have to be honest with ourselves, amigos, that this is a very prevalent issue in the Latino community, and it happens more often.
You know, one of the most awful things about poorly teaching American history and barely teaching Black American history in this country, one of the awful consequences of that is that, listen, if you just look at immigrants to the country, no matter where they're from, immigrants to the country who through some process become either a citizen, a green card holder, or a naturalized citizen, or dreamer, all these different versions, right? And who attend United States schools, public, private, it doesn't matter. But they're getting an education in this country. And one of the awful effects of the lack of rigorous interrogation and teaching around Black history, and I'm talking about from preschool through graduate school, is that...
Hello guys, welcome back. I believe you've heard what Americans are saying. They are not happy at all with the kind of things that some Latinos are showing them, because if we have a problem as a society, I think it is incumbent upon everybody to join in hands and support the process of solving this problem that everybody is having. However, you find that in this case, Latinos for Trump, for that matter, or those who are still supporting Trump, are behaving in a way that it could be that their world is better. For example, one of the things that every American has complained about is high cost of living. Does it mean that Latinos who are supporting Trump are having better prospects economically? Are they having their healthcare sorted? Are they well reimbursed when it comes to the pay they get from their workplaces as compared to their white counterparts? I think we have to call a spade a spade. We have to sort out these challenges without fear of any contradiction, because why is it that you want to associate yourself, or you want to force yourself to belong to a certain group that does not even want you? They don't even think that you're worth their time. Yet you can take all your time, you can take all your resources to support them and look like you are part of that system. I want to say that if you look at even the question about the one-drop rule, that already has disqualified many Latinos, because as long as you have a drop of a Black blood in you, and that is why they are always called people of color, because they know that you're not white as them. So they have said that as long as you have that one drop of Black blood in you, there is no possibility for you to be considered as a white person. So when you come and start behaving like you are belonging to that group, then what are you trying to say? What are you trying to project? You're projecting incompetence. You're projecting lack of self-knowledge and self-acceptability, because you have not accepted yourself, you don't understand what you are doing, you don't even know your heritage, and you don't appreciate yourself for that matter. So I believe as a people, we need to go out and first of all protect one another and fight for justice, a justice that can sort out the challenges that everybody is having, so that it doesn't look like we only have one group of people whose work is to fight for everybody. For example, right now, the Iran-Israel-United States war is kind of taking over the news media, so that you will not hear about the deportations that are happening. That does not sell right now. Even these media houses, they are in business. They want things that are selling. So they will not tell you the problems that are going on. They will not tell you the aggressions that ICE agents are giving to people who are immigrants. And it really tells you that if we don't address the challenges that we have fully, then we are bound to always make mistakes that we have always made before. And that is why it is always said that a people who forget their history, a people who are not able to appreciate their history, are bound to repeat the mistakes that they did in the past. And that is why you find that even today, as people are trying to forge a way forward to understand how they can address the challenges that people are going through under Donald Trump, you will get to see that there are other people who still find Trump someone who is dear to them. They still think that Trump is the one who will solve their problems and their challenges. And that is far from the truth. The problem that America is having right now, economically, is created by the white power structures that have, for years, created a system that discriminates a certain group of the population and favors a specific group of the population. But one thing is here. You remember during the government shutdown, we got to learn, even as people have been talking about this problem of lack of funds, there are those who say that blacks are welfare queens. But then the government shutdown revealed something, that this has been a lie told to whites so that they make decisions that favor white elites in America. And this is the truth. We have to face it and address it as it is. The nation and American system does not work to help its people. It is working to help the rich, such that even whites who have for many years lied to that the system will fight for them, it doesn't. During the longest government shutdown, we saw that our welfare queens are whites. And if there is any group of people who are supposed to pull themselves by their bootstraps, it is the white people, especially those in the middle class, because they are one paycheck away from facing poverty. So if that is the problem that the entire American society is going through, I believe we have to be candid enough to address these challenges collectively, so that even as we see that there are whites who are calling for blacks to go and help them fight against Donald Trump or protest against bad policies of Donald Trump, we have to appreciate the fact that it is not something that one group of people can sort out once and for all. America must unite and face these challenges together, so that when the government sees the unity that the populace have forged, they will be scared and they will start implementing the policies that addresses everybody. But one thing they have always done for many years is that they have created divisions among ourselves, so that blacks look at whites and there is a challenge. Whites look at blacks and they think blacks deserve to be the lowest end of the demographic food chain. So it tells you a lot about how we are socialized. But the reality is everybody is suffering in America, and everybody needs to put their guard together so that they fight this common enemy that is robbing Americans of their livelihood that they should have enjoyed. Share your thoughts down in the comment section, and if watching us for the first time, remember to subscribe to the channel, like the video, and share. Thank you. Let's meet on the next one.